You've heard about the 1960 television debate between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon, but Florida had its own television debate 6 years earlier during the 1954 governor's campaign. It pitted acting Governor Charley Johns against State Senator LeRoy Collins. In our historical segment tonight, Governor Collins recalls that debate, which many considered a turning point in the campaign.
We had a very tough campaign. Johns had the advantage of incumbency, and I made it very clear that I wanted to carry forward the McCarty program and my own program that would benefit the state. And so, and it included, my own program included reapportionment of representation in the legislature, which was sorely needed, and other rather controversial matters. I tried to get Governor Johns to debate, and he refused to debate. And but just a short time before the election, this was in the second primary now, he had run ahead of me in the first primary, but he and I were in a runoff election. And it was just before that runoff election that we had this debate. He agreed that he would meet with me in a debate, so one was set up on television down in Miami. And a rather strange thing happened. The Miami Herald, first edition of the paper, is on the streets there about 8 o'clock the evening before. And so that evening, we were going over to the television station a little after 8. I think the program was set for 8:30. And I got a telephone call, an urgent call from some unknown friend. And he told me to be sure to look at the Miami Herald of the next morning. That was already on the streets being sold, and I'd find something very interesting in it. And so I did, and there it was, a full-page advertisement by the opposition that was premised upon the proposition that the debate had already been held, and that I had been badly beaten in the debate, and that Johns had been very successful, and that I had tucked my tail between my legs and had left town, and all this kind of thing. So I took that newspaper with me to the state radio television station, and as the moderator was just starting the program, before he could introduce us to begin the debate, I asked him to let me have a statement to make, and I didn't give him time to think whether I should be allowed to do that or not. I just pulled up that newspaper and I said, I want that camera to come up here and see a picture of this advertisement. We haven't had one word of this debate, and yet here our opposition is presuming that it's all over and that they have won and that we have lost. And this is the kind of shenanigans and political maneuverings that we're fighting against in this campaign. And I think this is rude and crude and is not the kind of thing that should characterize Florida politics, and I just want to say so before any word is said in the debate.
Good evening, everybody. This is Ralph Rennick welcoming you to another edition of What's the Story. Florida, as you know, is approaching the climax of a turbulent political drama. Two men are campaigning for votes in a May 25th runoff election, which will decide who will serve the last 2 years of the unexpired term of the late Governor Dan McCarty.
Ralph, Mr. Rennie, could I make a statement before the program starts here, rather preliminary to it?
An opening statement, Senator?
Well, I'd just like to comment on the meeting and express my appreciation for the fact that the...
Get off and make everybody happy at the very beginning. Governor, if the Senator makes an opening statement and you make one, will that be acceptable?
Anything.
Opening statement by each candidate. Start with Senator Cox.
Well, I just wanted to express my appreciation of the fact that the acting governor has finally agreed to participate in a joint meeting of this kind. I regret that he was unwilling to participate in many offers for meetings in the first primary when Mr. Odom was also a candidate. I've been reading the last few days some of the rather vicious scurrilous advertising that's been taking place in the Miami Herald here in regard to this approaching meeting. And I was amazed when I came into the studio tonight out on the streets to pick up a copy of tomorrow morning's Miami Herald to find that the meeting had already been held. I just wanted to ask the acting governor something about this. Now, here's a copy of tomorrow morning's Herald. And it's an official advertisement by acting Governor Johns. And he says, proof that truth is mightier than the syrupy mouthings. Governor Johns' direct talk to the people of Dade wins wide support. Now, this is in the morning's paper, not this morning. Well, Senator Collins, wherever you are, we told you what would happen. You asked for it on television last night, and you got it. You didn't look so good, Senator, did you? Neither did your record when it was put up against that of Governor Johns, did it? Governor Johns would much rather have left you to your own devices and let the public discover for itself exactly what you are. But you wanted to get on television. Well, you got your wish, didn't you? We hope you are satisfied now, Senator. And that's the sort of advertising that's been prepared and run in a local paper 2 hours before the meeting is held, and I find that I'm already convicted.
All right, Senator Collins, acting Governor Johns.
Not have anything to do with any advertisement. Not to start with. I mean, I didn't know anything about any advertisement that's going to be put in the paper, because that's not Charley Johns, and the citizens of Florida know it's not Charley Johns. But I've carried on a good, clean, decent thing, and LeRoy knows it. And I want to say again that I've heard LeRoy say that in his heart he felt like he could make the citizens of Florida a good governor. Well, when I was sworn in as acting governor of this state...
Governor, your time is up. We'll get back in a moment.
The effect of it was quite electric. And the people, we had a statewide radio hookup, and a couple of other television stations, I think, were hooked up. But that was in the beginning days of television. Yeah. And, but I think that our real victory move started right there that night. And it was all downhill from that point, and all, I think, the other way for him from that point.
Collins overwhelmed Johns on Election Day and went on to serve as governor of Florida for 6 years. Johns went back to the Senate, where he was a ringleader of the pork chop gang, which opposed Collins's programs at every turn.